Hey guys, welcome back, and we're in Hemwick today. So there's a couple of reasons why we're here. First of all, I want to get enough bloodstone shards, or twin bloodstone shards, so that I can upgrade my axe to +6, and I want to get the Carol Rune tool. Obviously to do that I need to beat the Witch of Hemwick, which is not, she's not the hardest boss in the game, and she's a hell of a lot easier than Vicar Amelia. So yeah, I've always, I feel quite stupid because I've been wondering for ages, why is it that Hemwick has only women here? I've never really understood the law in this area. I've always wondered why the vast majority of the enemies you face here aren't women. There's a few men, you get a couple of giants and you see a couple of guys in wheelchairs. The majority of the enemies here are women. And I've had so many theories. Initially I thought it was some kind of weird witch cult that, hated men. And that's the reason why you only saw women here. Then I thought maybe it has something to do with the fact that Yana might be a society where the women, just stay out in a particular area and only do, farming and, stay in the fields and such. But, there aren't actually that many fields here. And then, don't know I feel stupid, but it was actually another YouTuber who found the answer. And the answer actually lies in the name itself, Hemwick Charnel Lane. And it's so bloody obvious, it's amazing, like, I've been playing this game for a year and I never bothered to try and actually figure out what the word charnel actually meant. And the guy who actually has the answer is called Jackson Frontier. It's a ridiculous name, by the way. Jackson Frontier. I think the guy's Australian, but I don't know why he chose that name. But I'm going to call him JSF for short. He's actually a good guy and a good YouTuber. So check out his videos. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. But basically JSF, sorry, can't even get it right. JSF basically said that the reason there are women here is basically because this area, Hemwick, at least this part of Hemwick, the Charnel Lane, is a place for burning bodies. And what he showed was that charnel is an old English word for an area or a road or a house, in some cases, where bodies are, dead bodies obviously, are burnt. And he also said that the reason why there are only women here is basically because in Yarnum, they, after, with the old beastly scourge, they decided that it would be far better if the men stuck around to actually, in the main city to fight the beastly scourge, while the women stayed, in the outskirts of the city, in the Charnel Lane, processing all the dead bodies. Because there were obviously, people dying from disease, from the old blood, being killed by a beast. So Ayano had an epidemic of dead people, and they obviously had to dispose of those bodies somehow. And obviously what they did was set up a charnel area of the city, this is the area here, and basically, kill all the, well, not kill, but burn all the bodies. And that's the basic law of Hemwick. I'm just going to go up this ladder. You would have found another mad one here, but I think instead you'll find a wandering madness. There you go, yeah. So you want to be very quick to actually get this one, because he can disappear very quickly. And his heart, obviously, if you didn't have a torch, it's very difficult to see him. While the witch herself was probably related closely with the school of Mensis, she, I think, he says, is actually, staying in the charnel house, or it's taken it over. Obviously, after a long time, most of, the reason why everybody was here no longer matters, because, the whole city is in chaos now, so it's not as if, bodies are going to be delivered here on a regular basis. So obviously the witch has moved in, she's using the charnel house for her own experiments, and the rest of the area of Hemwick is basically in chaos. Just those women have gone mad, they're running around with their tools and just hacking anyone to death, specifically the hunter. And you'll notice if you speak, well, not if you speak, but if you're fighting some of these enemies, if you pay close attention, you'll notice that they spend a lot of time, verbally attacking you, saying it's all your fault, die you fiend, you did this, and so on and so forth. and you don't just hear that here. You find, you hear that in different areas, and it didn't make complete sense why that was happening until the DLC. Because initially I just thought, well, you're an outsider, they like you, they hate you, and I think there's a bit of truth in that. But on top of that, I think it goes a bit further. I think it also matters that you're a hunter. For them, it was the hunters, with all their hunts that caused most of this problem. They're the ones who kill their relatives. They're the ones who were basically, who have the bloodlust and went around just, slaughtering half the Yanam citizens. So they're obviously, feeling quite put out about that. So by the time you arrive here as a hunter, obviously things have just gone completely to shit, for lack of a better term. And, you're basically just going through the ruins. They obviously still remember hunters, that's why they keep attacking you. But I think for the most part, I don't think that necessarily these women here and these are associated with the Witch of Hemwick. But these the executioners, that you actually fight, they are definitely associated, because I think both the hunters and the witch are closely related to the school of Mensis. If you go to Yahagul, you'll find that there's actually eye collectors, which is what basically the witch is, in the city, or in the town or village, or whatever you want to call it. And these executioners are well known to be related to Mensis. I actually also have my own little theory about the witch herself. You'll notice that when you actually get to fight the witch, that she basically is covered in eyes. And I think that's really interesting, because there's three main not covenants, but three main groups in Yharnam that run the city. You've got Bergenworth, who aren't really associated with Yharnam. They're basically the old school of the understanding of the old blood. Then you've got the school of Mensis, and you've got the third group, which is the choir. Now, what's interesting for me is that the Bergenworth faction always emphasized insight over anything else. We need more eyes. Whereas the choir always emphasized the old blood. As Vic Amelia says, seek the old blood. Whereas Mensis, I think, are somewhat interesting because they're somewhere in the middle. Mensis do some pretty crazy, fucked up shit. They have some crazy experiments that they're actually always running on people. If you go to Yahagul, both in the middle of the game and towards the end, you'll notice some freaky stuff going on there. And the witch herself is pretty similar, because I think she is literally covered in eyes, so she's obviously experimenting in some way, either on herself or on other people, to definitely take their eyes. And that's probably why she's in the Charnel Lane, to actually have access to all these eyes. But what's interesting to me is that she chooses to use eyes as her weapon. Obviously those eyes give her some kind of power. Why else would she be covering herself in those? And I think that it's very interesting because it actually emphasizes the importance of eyes. Because Willem says, and we'll find this out, we'll discuss this in more detail later. He sought to, we need more eyes, and in the end he sought to align his brain with eyes. Whether that was physically or metaphorically, I'm not 100% sure, but definitely the school of Mensis took it as quite literal, and the witch and probably other members of the school definitely had some kind of experiments going on with eyes. So anyway, with the boss fight itself, it took me a couple of tries, but it's not actually that hard. The first thing you want to do is try and get the first witch, and there's two of them, as low, kill her as quickly as possible, while avoiding the mad one, which he's going to bring up. Don't try and kill the mad ones. It's not really worth the time. If you kill one, she'll bring out more anyway. What you want to do is basically just make sure that you try and, do as much damage on her as possible. And I used the my double hit, my spinning axe technique. Now you'll notice there that I didn't do any damage on the witch, because that's the second witch, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I am actually lowering the damage on the second witch now before I actually kill the first witch. That's going to be really useful in the second part of the fight, because that'll allow me to kill the second witch a lot quicker when I actually get to her. difficulty in the second part of the fight is basically that the second witch keeps reviving the first witch, which will give you twice as much to deal with, and they can get quite hectic. I think the second witch is over here, yeah. So what you want to be careful of with the second witch is not just avoiding the Wandering Madnesses, there's more of them, but she's got also a couple of dangerous attacks. The first one is a spell that traps you on the spot, and if she does that, she will run up to you and try and gouge your eyes out, which does a lot of damage, especially for this run. You know, we don't have a lot of vitality, and we want to keep the we want to avoid any large scale attacks. So, you know, avoid those attacks, be careful when she's doing it, and try and kill her as quickly as possible. She also has an AoE attack, which I don't think you'll see in this kill, but basically if she starts to go red when you approach her, it means she's going to do the AoE attack, and you just want to keep away, because that will one-shot you as well, I think. So she's brought her sister back. So there was the spell that traps you in place, and I think I got hit twice with it, but luckily nobody came after me at that point. That's why you got to be careful. But again, this in this part of the fight, the second phase, just make sure you kill the second witch, and she won't be able to revive the first witch. And once you've done that, the last part of the fight is just easy. Just kill the first witch again. Yeah, just did it, and that's it. Fight over. No problem. Well, I did die a couple of times. Ha ha ha. Before I go today though, I just want to talk a bit about the Carol rune tool, specifically about the identity of Carol himself, the runesmith. So I personally believe that Carol is alive and that the blood minister is Carol. When I say the blood minister, I mean the guy who actually ministers the old blood to you to make you into a hunter right at the beginning of the game in the opening cinematic. Now, in my opinion, if Carol was able to etch the utterings of the Great Ones onto Carol runes, it's not that much of a leap to believe that eventually, over time, with research, he was able to go beyond that and be able to etch the runes, or the utterings of the Great Ones, onto people's minds themselves. For me, that's not that much of a stretch. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and if you've got anything to say, just add a comment below. Cheers, bye.